Hey, it's John at Tinderbox Arts. This video we're going to do a review of this jacket, which is the Tourmaster. It's the Horizon Line Alpine Trek jacket. That's a mouthful, but basically this is sold online typically as a Tourmaster Trek jacket. It's new for 2021, and there's not a lot of information online that I could find about it. I ended up purchasing it kind of sight unseen, and in this video I want to give you a lot of detail. There's really a lot going on in this jacket, so I want to try to get into all of it. Now, this is an adventure touring style jacket. One of its direct competitors is the Sedici Adventura, which has more information available online, but this one just didn't have that much, being new. Now, this is a 3-layer jacket, so you have the exterior layer here, you have a waterproof layer which is zip out, and you have a thermal layer which is zip out. And if you look at the tag here, it says the armor included is CE level 2. Now, there are so many external features that I think I'm going to cover those last. So let me remove the two zip out layers first. We'll get into those, and then I'll kind of work my way out. All right, if I lay this jacket flat here, it's easier to see what's going on. So the innermost layer is the thermal layer, and it has a phone pocket right here. If you have a 6-inch or bigger phone, you may find that it kind of comes up over the top here, and the velcro may not close. I have a phone which is about 6.2 inches, and it fit in there fine, but I couldn't really close the top velcro here, so that may be an issue. The thermal liner comes out with a single zipper, which starts here, comes all the way, up the top and over here and out. So that comes out fairly easily. It does have some snaps here at the bottom to keep things, secured. And in the sleeves come down to right about here, not completely down, but almost. And there are some loops with buttons here to keep that sleeve in place. This is true of both the thermal layer and the waterproof layer. So here are the little loops I'm talking about. And once you unsnap both sides, the arm comes out. So that's the thermal liner completely removed. The sleeves, you can see, are about 3/4 length. And, getting these sleeves out on the side of the road could be a little bit of a challenge, but I guess maybe you'd do that at the beginning of your ride knowing that you'd be going for colder weather. All right, next is the waterproof layer. This has a stretchy material here on the bottom, presumably to keep water from spraying up underneath. And it does also have these little loop connectors, just like the sleeves. But this one has 2 zippers and connections up here on the top. So you have one zipper here, which connects to the exterior part of the jacket. You have one on the other side, same thing. And then up top here, there are 3 snaps, which unsnap pretty easily. You can even do it one-handed. So that takes it out from, the exterior of the jacket. Now, this waterproof layer has 2 pockets. Again, one for the phone, same size, and one on this side, which is a little wider. It has a Velcro closure up top. So you have more pockets on this layer. And the zipper connections on this layer do have kind of a flap right here, which cover the zipper. All right, so this waterproof layer, again, has 3/4 length sleeves, and again has these little loops at the bottom, so you can hook it in place. But it does, it floats, if you will, inside the exterior. The material is very lightweight and potentially could get caught in the zipper if you're being a little rough as far as the handling, but I'm not sure how durable this is, but it does appear to be waterproof. Now, when you close the front zipper on this waterproof layer, there are, again, more flaps which overlap and prevent water from getting in, and there's also a Velcro connection. So you're basically going to zipper it up. There'll be flaps there. Then you put this Velcro over the zipper, and that should keep everything pretty well secured. Now, one downside with this style of jacket, this is true of all these jackets, is that you get layers and layers of zippers, right? So you have, one here on the waterproof layer, another on the thermal layer, and of course one on the outside. And it starts to get confusing, honestly. And if you're on the bike with a helmet on and gloves on, it could be a little bit of a challenge. But that's really the style of the jacket. And this waterproof layer also has a collar, which comes up fairly high. All right, so this final layer, as we're working our way into out, has the phone pocket, same sizing issue, and has a pocket on this side with a Velcro closure. Now let's talk about armor. They do have a spot here for back armor, but what they give you is just a piece of foam, so it's not going to protect you. They give you shoulder pads or armor and elbow. Now, when I pulled the elbow armor out, just to show you what it looks like, it is CE rated. It does have a level 2 label on it. I have no doubt that it is going to offer that kind of protection, but you know, I'm not thrilled with the armor, especially the elbow, because it does have a spot here to bend, but it's pretty stiff, and when it's warmer, it will kind of squeeze a little bit and bend a little bit better than when it's colder, but it's pretty hard and pretty stiff and pretty uncomfortable. Because these sleeves, as I'll talk about in a minute, are not super wide, so this takes up a lot of space. I've already ordered replacement armor, and honestly, even if I have to get rid of the CE2 rating and go down to a CE1 rating, I think it would be worth it just for the extra comfort. All right, so let me hang this back up again so I can talk about some things. The sleeves here, as I mentioned, are not particularly wide. So they do give you an adjustment here at the forearm and here closer to the bicep. I don't think you're ever going to need those. I certainly don't, and I'm not a huge guy. The other thing I want to mention, though, is the sleeves have a gusset here and a zipper, which does have kind of a rubbery protection there for water, and it has a mesh fabric underneath here, which I really like. So when you open this up, the sleeve is not flopping around, and because that mesh is there, you can use this for ventilation, which is a really nice feature, and I really like that. The base of the sleeve has a Velcro adjustment here. I like the idea of having the Velcro adjustment, but the execution here was not perfect because of the placement of where the Velcro is. The fabric kind of bunches up as you're trying to make it a little bit smaller, so it's not ideal, but it works. On the back of the sleeve here, you see it has this kind of accordion thing here going on, so that gives you a little bit more stretch, and it works very well. Now, one more thing on the sleeve I'll mention, which is this little slot here for ventilation. It's got a zipper, and it has a mesh fabric underneath, and honestly, there is so much ventilation on this jacket, you could easily miss some of this stuff. So I almost did miss it. I found that one, and then, uh-oh, look, up here, here's another one. So there is tons of ventilation on the sleeve. You have this zipper here you can undo. You have one pretty much near the elbow you can undo or zip up, and one up here at the top of the bicep you can use. And that's very well thought out. On my bike in particular that I use for touring, it has a lot of wind protection, and very often the sleeves are where I can get my ventilation. So I really appreciate having these 3 vents here. Now at the top of the sleeve, they have this little doodad here. It's basically a hard rubber pad which is sewn on, and I am not really a big fan of the look of it. It reminds me of 1980s style cars where they just kind of tack things on. So I'm not a big fan of this, but as I look very closely at it, it does look like I can remove that if I want, and I may just try that. It's just, you can see the threads here on the outside, and I think if I take out that stitching, this whole pad will come off. So this back pocket, you take these buckles off, and there's another line of Velcro across the whole thing, and again a flap, so it'll help with water intrusion. There is reflective material here which looks gray under normal light, but it will reflect. On the sides here you have that zipper that comes up, I don't know, 5 inches or so, with a little rubber garage for the top of the zipper here, and that just spreads out and allows you to open up the flare at the bottom if you need more room, and it does have that mesh again. Now, since we're on the back, let's talk about this. The logo is reflective and it's fairly subdued. I really don't like being a walking billboard, so that's not too bad. The ventilation here is interesting, and I've not seen anything quite like this before. It has 2 zippers here, which I've seen before. So you have one on either side, and that opens up a huge area for ventilation, and there's mesh in there you can see. So that's great. All sorts of ventilation there. But then at the top here, you see there's a little flap, and there are 3 snaps at the top here. Let me undo those. So you undo those snaps, and this entire flap comes down. I mean, that's a lot of ventilation. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, that's great for ventilation. My God, I mean, you couldn't ask for more than that. But how strong or durable is this material? Now, this mesh is different from the other mesh, I think, and it seems more durable, but if you went off the bike in a slide, I don't know how well this is going to hold up or not. So I'm not positive I would really want to leave this open on a ride where I thought, you know, a potential slide could be an issue. I might keep those snapped. And then the other question I had would be, are these snaps durable enough where, you know, in this slide they're going to hold? Now there is a flap here, so if you're sliding in that direction, I suppose this flap would protect the snaps. If you're sliding the other direction, I guess the flap would be pulled in that direction, so it wouldn't be a problem. So maybe I'm just overly cautious, but it is a little odd. But I guess ultimately that's a lot of ventilation. Now this little flap right here, you can roll up, and after you roll it up, there are two snaps right here that keep that roll in place. So if I pull back here, you can see that entire area is now ventilation. And if this mesh is something that's strong enough to hold up, which I hope it is, then that's a pretty cool feature. Now, the back protector, if you just use the standard foam that comes in there, is going to prevent some of that ventilation from happening. But you can buy back protectors that are armored that have ventilation in it, and that would really be a huge plus. So as far as ventilation, you really couldn't ask for much more than that. And yet there is more. So here on the side is another pocket which you could almost miss, which adds more ventilation. It has mesh, and it has a little snap on it. Get good light there. It has a snap on it, so you can keep that open. While I'm on the sides here, I should also mention it has this velcro here that you can pull the sides tighter if you need them. And getting back to here again, that velcro that you pull on the sides can be tucked in here, so you can really pull it quite tight, and you won't have that thing sticking out in the back. You can tuck it into this pocket here, and that'll be hidden. All right, so I've mentioned the ventilation in the back and the side and the sleeves. Now let's get to the front. So this is an amazing amount of ventilation as well, and it's right at the chest. So you have this flap which has a zipper right here. That zipper can come down and be waterproof, or water resistant anyway. And the flap comes up, and there's a huge amount of ventilation here and a number of snaps, so you can keep this ventilation flap in more than one position. There is this position with the first snap, and that leaves quite a bit of area here, and again you have the mesh. Or you can undo that snap and go for this one on the inside, and now you have that whole area completely open, and this can roll up a little bit. So there's options there as far as ventilation in the front, the side, the arms, and I can't imagine really adding much more ventilation to a jacket of this type. Now there are some more features on the front. For one thing, there's yet another pocket I forgot to mention, which does have a zipper. So you can go in with your hand to the side here, or you can go to the top using this flap. So there's actually two pockets here, two pockets here. The way the zipper works, there's a main zipper down the middle here, and then there's a double flap. So one comes down like this over the zipper, and it has this folded flap area right here, and then this flap comes out over that and snaps. So you have basically a double flashing there, if you will, and that goes all the way up to the top here. So you'll have complete coverage as far as water getting in, and this fabric here is going to be water resistant. It's not going to be waterproof, but that's why you have that inner layer. Up top here, you have an interesting feature. So you can close this collar with a snap, and that snap goes right here. And then if you want to just keep that open and you want to keep it out of the way, it has a little hook right here which hooks up top, and that is meant to keep that from flapping around under your helmet or under your chin. So that's nicely done. And on the other side, if you want to use this little tab here, as it snaps, this has an adjustable snap, so you can slide this wherever it might be comfortable for you. So you can keep that collar nice and tight if you want to keep water out, or you can keep it a little looser to let some air in. Now here's yet another feature. So this collar, if you look closely, has a flap right here, and that flap has a little zipper. Now if I undo that zipper, out pops a hood from that hidden area there. So the collar itself has a hidden hood, and you can bring this collar up and bring this hood over your head, then put your helmet on. The point being, water that would normally go down your neck will get caught right here and go to the outside of the jacket rather than going down your back. All right, let's talk about sizing. Now, this is going to be what they call an American cut, meaning I guess Americans are fat, and they're going to give you more generous amounts of fabric here in the middle and on the bottom than a European cut. So I mentioned that Sedici Aventura jacket earlier. In that jacket, I'm a medium, and in this jacket, I'm a small. So you can see there are differences in American versus European sizing. Now, I'm about 5'5" tall, about 140, and this jacket fits pretty well, except that there's maybe just a little extra fabric in the middle here that I just don't need. I don't have a belly. I just don't need that extra fabric. So you can cinch these things up here on the side. It's going to wrinkle the fabric up or bunch the fabric up, and it may flare out at the sides here a little bit, but it is certainly doable. So if you have a belly, I think you're going to be okay as far as fit. If you don't have a belly, it may be a little extra fabric than what you need. The sleeve length for me is good. Now, as far as the length of the jacket, on me, I'm not very tall. This covers my entire rear end. If I was a little bit taller, it would still cover most of my rear end. So as far as water coming down, it's going to shed most of that. Two more things in the front here I should have mentioned. This zipper is a double zipper, so you can zip the whole thing up, keep it secured up here, and then there's another pull tab here. So you can have this bottom open and, for extra ventilation or just for comfort when you're sitting on the bike, or you can zip it closed. So you can use either of those at the same time. There's also a little, I'm not sure what this is, honestly. If you know what this is, leave a comment. But a little plastic loop here attached to the jacket. It's only on the one side, and honestly, I have no idea what it's for. So if you know what that is, let me know. When you put this jacket on, you do notice the weight. It's a heavy jacket. And yes, the thermal layer and the waterproof layer add some of that weight, and probably so does the armor. But it's got a lot going on, and there's a lot of weight here. So it feels like a heavy, substantial jacket. As far as use, I think it's probably a 3-season jacket. So you have the thermal liner, you have the waterproof liner, and for winter, you'd be fine, I think, even probably with just a t-shirt underneath. In the summertime, it might be too hot for some bikes. So if you have a lot of wind protection, a big windshield, if you're touring, that kind of thing, even though this has a lot of ventilation, and that will help quite a bit, once you get into, 85, 90 degree weather, it might be a little bit warm. So for about $260 to $280 is the current price of this. It's a pretty good deal, honestly. There's a lot of features here. It's very well engineered, very well thought out. There's a couple of things that are a little strange or a little goofy, but nothing that are deal killers at all. And I think you're getting a lot for your money here. So I have not had a chance to really ride extensively with this yet. Still have the tags on it, but I will, and I will report back in the comments if I have any issues or problems with it. And certainly for the price point, it's hard to imagine doing much better than this with all the features and everything they've put into this jacket.